Firing. He's going for Landry down by the end zone. A tumbling catch for a touchdown. He's to the 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown. Is this how it feels to win?
Welcome back, Survivors. Episode 9, Season 4. This is Surviving the Season live from the Badwater Studios in Tampa, Florida. I'm Adam Greggs here.
Yo, what is up?
Nothing is up.
Not much brown shit, huh?
The rookie mini training camp is wrapped up. Beckham's golfing today. Cody Kessler got cut.
Oh man, QB1
Could have had him.
gone. Do you think his days are over? Or he's probably pissed the AAF closed down so quickly.
Dude, he would be fucking Joe Montana in the AAF.
He is the he could be the Doug Flutie. Take his career there for 15 years and come back for 1 or 2 in the pros. Revitalize it in the AAF.
Is there actually a spot for him? I mean, maybe as a backup or a third string?
Probably as like a backup third string, yes. Somewhere. I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah.
He's like the ultimate average. Analytically, college, he was really good, and you can do that. I think he can't move. Remember how bad he was at moving in the pocket, and I think that is the most underappreciated aspect of quarterbacking in the NFL is pocket presence, being able to shift around the pocket, being able to buy time with your feet, because good teams, good defenses don't give you quick throws. Greg Williams defenses, we allow a 5-yard throw all day quickly, half-second throws. The reason why Myles Garrett can't get 20 sacks last year in Greg Williams defense is because they get the ball out of their hands in 1 second.
Yeah, right. And he bragged about it.
Yeah, and then he did brag about it. That's right. His backwards ass thinking. But it's that pocket presence, that buying time that makes the good quarterbacks. Like Baker Mayfield is exceptional when he gets out of the pocket. Remember how bad Kaiser was? It's funny because I was going back, I was watching some games. Week 1, I'm going through just watching all the teams, and Aaron Rodgers gets hurt. In comes Deshaun Kaiser, gets down to into the red zone and fumbles in the red zone. I go, oh man, this is so Cleveland. Then throws a pick right before halftime. I mean, it's just meant to be. And it's the same thing. He gets out of the pocket and he just loses his mind. And that is not what we see with Baker. Baker gets out of the pocket and then throws a 60-yard strike to Jarvis Landry like he did against, was that Carolina? The best throw of the year.
Yeah.
Phenomenal stuff. I mean, Aaron Rodgers does that. The kid from Seattle, whose name is slipping my mind, Russell Wilson. Like the good quarterbacks, that's what's so good about him. Even Tom Brady, who you go, well, he's sort of a statue, is if you watch him in the pocket, he gets the ball out very quickly. But when he doesn't, when he has to buy time, he navigates around the pocket, uses his blocking properly, and then finds the open guy. Drew Brees, same thing. Not very fast guy, not very fleet of foot, but just uses the pocket correctly. And Cody Kessler, man, he would get the ball, and if there was even a glimpse of pass rush, he was just diving into the ground.
Yeah, there was no keeping your eyes downfield. If you just that middle pressure, he was doomed. He just looked right at that dude and just fucking. I better shell up here.
I think he was like one of the most efficient quarterbacks in college football history, and they relied heavily on the RPO game. Then he comes to the pros, and we don't run RPOs with him. Yeah. So again, and that's one thing that, we've talked about in the past is like what you do in college. Like these guys get graded on their stuff from Pro Football Focus, and they go, Pro Football Focus says you're a 90 grade at this, your passing game. Well, it's your 90 grade based upon what they asked you to do in college and doing those concepts. So are we going to ask you to do those same concepts when you get into the pros? And I feel like that is where the NFL sort of where they're not doing the players necessarily a favor. We can call these guys bust all day. We can call Corey Coleman a bust all day. He ran 3 routes in college. Then he comes to the pros and they go, well, why can't you run, the whole route, the whole route tree? Because he never learned, but we expect it to. Like maybe the expectations are too high. If you have to make sure that you know what you're getting. You get Cody Kessler, you better be running some RPOs. And even that's probably not going to work. He's limited. His arm strength, his movement.
Got drafted by too. It's just we were so terrible. There was no terrible. The line. Was all torn
we had
apart.
Terrell Pryor. What has Terrell Pryor done since he's left?
I don't know. Is he even in the league? Or does he play for the Jets now or something?
He played for the Jets last year. Yeah, but there's the ultimate. What we talk about. It's sort of like the NBA thing where you're on a really bad team, so you can score 25 points a game, but then you go to a good team with good players, and now you're, like Kevin Love syndrome, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're back. You score 15 points a game, and everybody thinks you suck. Well, you're really just a 15-point game guy before, but you played with the Timberwolves, and they had nobody around you, so you end up taking way more shots. Should Terrell Pryor be 1,000-yard receiver? No, but when there's nobody else to throw the ball to, if he gets 140 targets, then he can, go for 1,000 yards. So it's a lot of just about opportunity.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense because it's you're going to get some yardage. You could have the worst 3 receivers on the field, but they got to throw the ball to somebody. So the team is going to get some yards.
Yeah,
I think you don't want to be on the receiving end of paying for free agents that put up good numbers on shitty teams. Those seem to never work out.
I guess when it comes to wide receivers anyways. It doesn't. I think the problem with the wide receiver market is that you just have to overpay for it. Have you ever seen a good, there's not a wide receiver deals aren't made as a free agent. And then you look at it and you go, hey, you know what? That was a good deal. It's never a good deal. It's always being overpaid. What's the kid that went from Carolina who's slow as hell? I think he is with Indianapolis this year. He's making $11 million.
Funchess.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see what he gets.
Yeah, Devin Funchess. He's $11 million this year.
Yeah.
Good luck. Come on.
$10 million, 1 year, $7 million roster bonus.
That's what he is this year?
Yep, $7 million guaranteed there. One year deal. He's only 24. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's young. There's a chance that you get better, but your skill set, you're not going to get quicker all of a sudden. And it seems like the teams are going a lot more to those quicker wide receivers than the big bodied ones. You get guys like DK Metcalf and the kid from Iowa State, Hakeem Butler, that last into the 3rd round. Could you imagine? 10 years ago, not a chance in hell. Those guys are in the top 10 guys. The game has changed. It is more based upon quickness right now at the wide receiver position, which sets up very nicely for the Browns because Odell Beckham Jr., one of the quickest in the entire game. It's not like Jarvis Landry, not fast, actually slow, but when it comes to just short area quickness, pretty decent there. He's good at getting open, creating a little bit of space. Yeah. $14 million or whatever he's making. We've talked about that a million times. Probably not worth it, but he's good at the little, he has some ability. Same thing with Higgins, not fast, quick. That's where the game's going.
Yeah. Mayfield helps too, because he's going to get the ball to him in good spots to make a play after they catch the ball.
He's no Cody Kessler, but
right. Could be a breakout year, hopefully.
Yeah.
For dudes like Njoku. What do you expect out of him, dude?
David Njoku.
There's
year 3.
There's a lot of all-stars out there.
You're saying from a spreading the wealth type.
Yeah, it's hard to see. It's hard to say he's going to have 1,000 yards when you're also getting a lot of yardage out of your wide receivers. I don't know if his numbers need to be great to be an impact player. If that makes sense. Maybe that doesn't make sense.
Well, because you're just saying he just needs to be efficient.
Yeah, he just needs to be another weapon that's open when the play is called for him, or because Mayfield just reads those so well. Those seam routes, Njoku can get open all day.
I think that's what's going to be the interesting thing is how do they go about using these guys? With Njoku, what are they going to do? Because when you watch a team like San Francisco and the things they do with George Kittle, like George Kittle is, he tested extremely well, super athlete. Njoku is not quite that athlete what George Kittle was, but he's pretty close. And when you watch the San Francisco, we know the Kyle Shanahan offense just from him being in Cleveland. There's so much outside zone runs, right? Outside right, outside left. We're going to run the outside zones. And then we fake off of those and then we bootleg. And so many of George Kittle's catches are based off those bootlegs. And then he's running not vertically, he's running horizontally across the field, side to side, from sideline to sideline. And they're giving him the ball in space where he's got a few steps on a linebacker because the linebacker's playing the run. Then he has to go find George Kittle. And then it's letting Kittle use his speed. The Browns really didn't do much of that with Njoku last year under Freddie Kitchens. And, when Freddie Kitchens took over. Now, Freddie Kitchens, this is the thing that I still don't know, though. Is Freddie Kitchens implementing the offense that they ran last year that he called? I don't think that's the case. You bring in the dude from Tampa Bay, name slipping my mind right now, and you add him, and he's going to add to Freddie's offense that Freddie probably has had in mind for a long time. I'm sure Freddie Kitchens has had his own playbook ready at his disposal. Just wasn't last year because they were using Todd Monken this year, but they're using Todd Haley's offense last year. So yes, Todd Monken is who he'll be pairing with this year. So it'll be interesting to see because you didn't really have a lot of those boots. I mean, very little of that. And if that's the case, they're not using that, then it's, you're going to have to see a lot more of David Njoku in the seam. I think that's where they used them some. I really just didn't think they used them effectively last year. They started to use them down in the red zone. We've complained about it for 2 years, throw the ball up to them. But I think that you still have to come away with a better game plan of playing to his strengths, which is using his athleticism.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting for him because the safeties are when you can run these dudes opposite each other. Where Mayfield can just read the safety and say, all right, you're going to chase Beckham, then I've got Njoku seam. If you're going to chase the seam, then I got Beckham on the opposite route that's underneath him. And it seems like it's going to be so easy. That I think that's what people are getting. Everyone's so hopeful because you have all these weapons.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because, what are we going to run? A lot of 3 wide receiver sets? Or are we going to?
Yeah, I'm almost certain you're going to have 3 or 4 receivers a lot.
Yeah, so you're going to be running 1 tight end, 1 running back, 3 wide receivers. Yeah, I'm not seeing. I just can't imagine the fullback's going to be implemented too much, too important. But then, what are they going to do? I think there's still people out there that tell you David Njoku's terrible. Like he's garbage, right?
Oh, yeah.
They love, and they forget this kid's 22 years old. Like they'll tell you Jarvis Landry, top 10 receiver in the league, David Njoku, worthless. I hear this from even my friends. And it's funny, and I go, well, what if they got the same amount of targets? Do you think David Njoku could do what Jarvis Landry does? No way. Impossible. Would never happen. But it's funny because actually if you look them up, career Brown stats, Jarvis Landry 149 targets, David Njoku 148. So they're only one off target-wise, and David Njoku actually has 88 catches to Jarvis Landry's 81 for more yardage. 1,025 yards to Jarvis Landry's 976. Also more touchdowns, 8 touchdowns to 4. So at what you hear what I'm saying here? Like maybe you're not utilizing David Njoku enough. And I don't want the coaches to be like, all right, here's what we got to do. We got to get Njoku the ball this play. Then we need to get Landry the ball. And then we need to get Beckham the ball. Like, I just want them to go, okay, this is the plays that fit the defense. That's going to play us. We're going to beat the defense. Baker's going to get it to the open guy. Whoever catches the ball, so be it. Right?
Agreed. Yeah. There's no reason to.
But there's still people out there that tell you Njoku's worthless. Landry is the best ever. But when you compare their overall targets, they're eerily similar, if not David Njoku being the better target.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that their stats were that close.
Yeah, well, he did it in 2 years. Yes. No, he did it in 2 years. I'm just saying, if he did get equal amount of targets, what then? What would happen then? You never know.
I know Njoku's listed as a tight end, but I think we can look at these dudes a little bit different because they're going to be lining him up in different spots, not just from tight end. He can line up all over the place. A lot of these dudes just become offensive weapons at this point.
Yeah, I think that's what we're stacked at right now, offensive weapons. When you take in Higgins and you still got Chubb and Duke and Kareem Hunt when he gets back and Callaway. I mean, that's some weapons there. And people hate, nobody thinks that DeValve can do anything, which he didn't last year. And I agree. Like, he's got a lot to prove, but he can be a competent, target if need be. I think there's things he can do that we have yet to see.
Yeah. His injury history hasn't helped him one bit. He's been on and off the field, and it's hard.
And he's probably not going to be able to, he's still going to be tight end 3. Like, there might be a chance that he doesn't even make the team. Yeah. Demetrius Harris is probably going to be tight end 2 because he's a good blocker. Now, the difference is Demetrius Harris can't catch a cold naked in the middle of winter, and Seth DeValve's like a receiving option. They're very different. It's actually nice having both of those because one gives you a receiving option, one gives you a blocking option. So I think we upgraded there over Darren Fells with Demetrius Harris. The tight end position, not bad, but I still think David Njoku has some stuff to prove. I'm expecting year 3, David Njoku becomes more consistent with his hands. Hopefully he makes some huge plays and people will just shut up already about David Njoku. I think there's just still, like we said, way too much hate.
Yeah, I agree there.
But if he comes out and starts dropping, he drops, 7 weeks in a row, 7 straight balls or something, seven balls in 7 weeks. And, maybe these people have something to complain about. It's got to get better.
He just got to chase Beckham and Landry around and do what they do.
Yeah. But I was kind of looking at the salary cap stuff here and per positional spending and the Browns, like at tight end 17th, at running back 17th, like they're right in the middle of the thing. But then you look at that wide receiver position, they pay more money to the wide receivers, obviously, than any other team in the league right now. $38 million this year we're paying to our wide receivers. The next highest is $33 million.
Oh, wow.
That's going to be interesting going forward.
And basically that $33 million is to 2 guys because nobody else makes any money. I mean, Higgins
is getting $2 million this year, which is surprising. I didn't think he would make that much.
That's the restricted free agent tender. I mean, I like him. He's just going to have a hard time getting a second contract here.
There's not a chance in hell he's going to be back with the Browns. There's no way because they'll have to pay him money. They're not going to be able to they're going to have to figure out a way. And right now we're like $33 million under the cap this year. Okay. So you're going to have some rollover, but if you go into next year with everybody signed, and of course there's going to be plenty of guys that we're going to have to re-sign, or there's going to be plenty of guys that we cut. We're at like $1 million over the cap. So there's going to have to be, and when you look at this one position, wide receiver, that is number 1 in the league. The only thing the other one is defensive line. Defensive line, we're at number 3 in the league. You got Myles Garrett's contract. You got Olivier Vernon, who's going to make $15 million next year. That could be an issue. And then you have the Sheldon Richardson, who, he's got a pretty big, substantial. So that's another position. But those 2, everything else is in line. Quarterback 23rd in the league. We got a rookie quarterback, running back 17th in the league, tight ends 19th in the league, offensive line 15th in the league, linebackers 23rd in the league, special teams 17th in the league. And then the secondary is 8th, which is fine. You're paying a little bit extra money. TJ Carey's going to come off of that. But you're talking about 2 position groups, wide receiver and defensive line, that is going to cost you like 40% of your cap next year. Yeah. That's a big number.
We can even, if the quarterback was paid more, we would have problems moving money from one of these other position groups.
Yeah, and there's ways to rework the contracts and give people bonuses and whatnot. Remember we always said that Tom Brady, because I was just kind of going through this, just seeing where we would be in the next couple of years cap wise. And the big one is Tom Brady. Well, Tom Brady doesn't make any money, right? That's how New England can afford to do all their stuff. Well, the problem is like Tom Brady's on last year of that contract. They've rolled so much money into it that he's actually making $27 million this year. There's no way out of it because they've rolled so much money into that from previous years. So he is making that's not Kirk Cousins money, but it's pretty damn close. So
$27
makes you think, man. Now Baker is what's Baker making? $8 million, $7,427,000, and now we get 4 years from now. I mean, you're talking this could be up to $40 million contracts by then. The way it's going, man.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
it's crazy. So you get stuck paying him some of these bad. That's like it's like Jarvis Landry's contract, not great. Obviously, if he was making $10 million a year, I'd go, okay, fair. It's good. Like not a bad player, not a great player. Odell Beckham Jr. making the same amount of money of what Jarvis Landry is next year. We'll see. And then we're going to have to rework. We'll see if he likes that because it feels like that's going to be a contract you got to rework. Can you afford to pay Olivier Vernon $16 million next year? We'll see. Like there's a lot of questions there. It's $15.5 million actually is what his will be. Sheldon Richardson, 13.6 next year with a $5 million dead cap. You're going to have to save that $8 million if he doesn't play up to that contract. There's ways out of these things. Like Vernon, he's got no dead cap on his stuff, on his contract left.
Right. Yeah. The Giants had to eat that.
Yeah, they did. But there's going to have to be some reworking.
Yep. That's why you got to hit on these draft picks because they need to take over the spots.
Mm-hmm.
They need to take over the spots of the dudes that are making a lot of money, and Cleveland fans are going to have to get used to losing some players you like.
Oh, man. Our buddy Jack Duffin, probably the most hated guy on Twitter because he brings up like, hey, you can't keep all these guys. And people are like, why do we want to think about that? Everything's good. He's like, I'm just saying. People are like, F you. Yeah. Go back to England. I am in England.
He does take some heat.
He takes all kinds of heat. How about this one? All right. So Joel Bitonio, $9 million cap hit next year. Worth every cent of it, but there's no dead cap. Drew Forbes brought in, might not be a tackle, might move to guard. If he seems worthy, you're paying him $600,000.
Yeah. So
potential.
You're saving $9 million on the cap. Boy, you're moving on from those are the ones. Those are the ones that you're like, fuck, I don't want to lose this dude. What do you do? But that's just kind of the way it works.
Yeah, those are the ones that people will get most pissed off. I mean, TJ Carey is making 8.1 next year, and his dead cap's 1.8. So you gain $6 million, $6.3 million by cutting. I just cannot see TJ Carey coming back for a third year. I think that is going to be a for sure one. Chris Hubbard's going to have probably a hard time making it where they can save some money. Christian Kirksey's going to give you another $7 million. So even though you're looking at breaking even for the 2020 season without signing anybody because you're going to have a lot of these guys open up some cash. So you're going to, I think by the time it's all said and done, you're going to be sitting back like with $50 million to spend again with a rollover.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
With a lot of dudes I think.
Well, what do you do? Do you re-sign Joe Schobert? Do you re-sign who's the other free agents we got up next year?
Talking about it a little bit earlier, Joe Schobert's an interesting one because some of it comes down to how do we do this year?
Yeah.
Do we feel like we can move on from a guy like Schobert and we can pay somebody, or not pay somebody to play that position is more like it.
Or Randall. Well, you got to think like how, you draft Mac Wilson, you draft Sione Takitaki. They're probably one of those guys is probably going to see some pretty good amount of time this year. What if both of them end up getting some serious time and both of them show to be quality players? Are you in a better position then to move on from Schobert and not have to spend that money?
Yeah.
Spend it somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. You're basically moving. Yeah.
Yeah, and same thing with Demarius Randall. You pick up Sheldrick Redwine. Now, is he as good as Randall? Probably not. Definitely not in coverage. Like they're definitely different players. Redwine that's why he gets drafted in the 4th round. Demarius Randall is a late 1st round pick. He's a more talented player. But if you're talking about a difference of like $8 million, how far do you fall in, how far does your defense fall down because you're going to a lesser tier? Like how many tiers down is Sheldrick Redwine from Demarius Randall, I guess? Because that seems, those safety positions seem to me to be where you're finding a lot of good value in the NFL. You don't want to be overpaying those positions right now.
True.
And same thing with linebacker. I mean, how many big time linebackers are making real money? You get Kuechly. How many of them should be making big time money? Kuechly, the kid from Seattle, and then what they paid the kid from the Ravens goes to New York, probably gets overpaid this year.
Oh yeah, Mosley.
Thank you, CJ Mosley.
So, it's so hard to do. It's so
after
hard
work
to do after work podcasts.
Yeah, Bobby Wagner is a kid from Seattle, but it's weird. Like you really got to think about that. What are the hard positions? To replace. It's going to be a lot harder to replace a guy like Myles Garrett, who gives you so much value. You have to spend, like, to me, if he's going to cost you $20 million a year in 2 years, that's worth it. That's going to be where it's worth it. And you can replace these guys. You can, people like Demarius Randall. I know, but he's replaceable. We have to be okay with replacing guys like that. Joe Schobert, he's done a good job as a 4th round pick. Excellent job. Let's see what he can do again this year. I think when Schobert went out last year, there was a big decline in the defense, right?
Yeah, there was. Yep.
But they're also, like, our linebacking crew was just horrendous anyways. So now, did we just get better in the draft? We'll see. I still think there's a place for Schobert on this team after this year, but the contract's got to be right. Like, I'm not paying Joe Schobert CJ Mosley money. Like, that's asinine. Not for a middle linebacker at this day, where we are in this day and age in the league. Yeah.
Well, like you were saying about Garrett is the kind of dude that you will make changes at 2 spots to keep a good edge rusher,
well, he's a freak,
yeah.
Not only is he's like,
quarterback's the other position you do it for. You'll pay your quarterback and you'll take a hit at a couple positions that, you probably wanted to keep those players, but in some cases you got to give up even more than just one position group to pull the money.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like what there's gonna have. It's not like John Dorsey went all in, because that's the big thing. Like where he was saying, I'm not going all in this year. Well, you make a big trade for Beckham. He didn't go all in, but he's definitely raised the pot this year. This is a big hand that he's playing. And it's not, if we lose this hand, it's not that we're going to go broke, because there's still ways to around this thing. But one more year of the spending like this, and you're talking about going all in. So there's ways to work around this salary cap.
Yeah, still tons of flexibility. Basically, until Mayfield and Garrett get their extensions, we have flexibility all over the place. But once those two get paid, they're both gonna get a lot of money. So
yeah, and well, by then we'll see, because I have a feeling that there's going to be a whole new CBA and all that stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens with that, of course. I'm interested to see what they come up with, if the players' union's going to stick to, like this guaranteed money instead of guaranteed time. Or, they're going to stick to the rookie scale still. I mean, the rookie scale,
I think that's where they're losing the biggest amount of money.
Yeah, and then it gives almost there's no incentive for teams to keep veterans at higher contracts, because the rookies make so little. So
yep, you can bring in a 4th round guy and pay him $600,000 when that's actually, so like, let's think about the Duke Johnson thing. Okay, so some people are saying Duke Johnson actually makes a little bit too much money. Like, what's the point of having him? We could save $3 million. He's making $3 million this year, right? And when you look around the league and you compare it to other players that are of his ability, that sort of are in that third down back role, he's right where he should be. If this is all guys that make either more money or the same amount of money as Duke Johnson. Jerick McKinnon, Tevin Coleman, James White, Rex Burkhead, Chris Thompson, Dion Lewis, Theo Riddick, Gio Bernard. Those are all guys, veteran running backs, that all make more money than Duke, except for Rex Burkhead. More money. Now, if you talk about that list, which guys on that list are better than Duke Johnson? Zero.
Yeah.
It's not a bad contract, okay? So you go, he's $3 million for a guy that might only play 200 snaps, right? Well, where you save on that, here's the three guys that are rookie deals that are similar to Duke Johnson. Austin Eckler, Nyheim Hines, Tariq Cohen all make less than $850,000 rookie contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can get that at $800,000, what you're getting for Duke Johnson for $3 million, what's the incentive of keeping Duke Johnson around?
Right. You can put that $2.2 million into somebody else.
Right. The problem with saying, it's just not that simple to grab one of those guys as a rookie and know that he's going to produce. So you pay a veteran guy because he has a proven track record, right?
Right.
So that's where it comes in. But you're right. Like if you have that rookie wage scale there, it gives no incentive for you to go and sign a guy like Duke Johnson when you can go, well, we can just take 3 stabs at it in the draft. Two drafted guys in the 6th and 7th round and an undrafted guy, and we can find a Duke Johnson. So it's actually, I would argue it's actually hurting the players, the veteran players, by not having an open market for rookies.
There could be a way. So let's say you want to keep a guy. Let's use like Beckham, and then you say, well, his cap hits like 15 million. We can't afford to keep him at 20 million. But the league lets you pay him, 25 million, but he only becomes like a cap. The cap hit doesn't go up. Like if you stay with your team, kind of
like that, like the Larry Bird thing that they do in the NBA.
They do. It counts against your cap, but yeah, the team doesn't get like penalized for keeping their own players.
Yeah,
in the NBA so much. Everyone sort of has a different cap. Even in the NFL, every team has a different cap because of the rollover. But maybe there would be a way to structure contracts where if you're keeping your own veteran players, you can pay them more without taking such a huge cap hit. So it de-incentivizes getting rid of veterans for younger players.
Yeah. I mean, especially where the Browns are right now, if they get rid of that rookie wage gap or blah, blah, rookie wage scale, then that's perfect for us, because you want those teams that are bad to be having to spend tons of money to sign these guys at the top of the draft. We won't be drafting there. Right. That's let's switch it now. We were stuck in that hole for a long time, and we kept having to pay big money for guys that weren't proven. But maybe the teams just need to say, hey, we're not going to pay these large chunks of money until you sort of prove yourself.
Yeah.
We don't. Setting a wage scale is probably bad in the long run of the NFL for the players, but it also was bad when you had a bad team. Like if you're a fan of a shitty team because you kept getting stuck with unproven guys that made tons of money, made more money than the vets on your team.
Yeah. Well, also the other weird, which is okay. I mean, we're only talking about literally like the first half of the first round gets paid a lot of money. There's some significant drop off. But
I swear that's how you get stuck in that goddamn that endless 6 and 10 all the time. You can't afford it.
But there's another weird thing there too, where if you take let's go to the Giants again, as they take a running back number 2, he becomes one of the highest paid running backs in the league. A quarterback goes 3rd, and he becomes one of the lowest paid quarterbacks in the league. Like the positional benefit of drafting a running back high is okay for the running back. He's like, fuck
right.
it. I'm highly paid. But it makes the other play. So there's like the wage scale kind of works. The Giants are just too stupid to realize.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
To realize what they were doing. And but I don't think the rookie wage scale works for veteran players, which is what they kind of thought it would do. It kind of worked against it a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, Carlos Hyde's making $2.7 million this year. So now that I look at that, somehow these guys are making money still.
Yeah. I would like to hear some really like radical ideas for how to do the CBA. Interestingly, I wonder if there's some ideas floating around out there that.
Well, maybe the
cool.
wage scale is just too low, and by bumping it up, it makes veteran players more valuable. Because really, the way you're weighing it, you have to think, okay, how much value does this guy bring to my team versus this guy? That's all it comes down to. And obviously there's talent, there's a difference in talent on a lot of players, but really on most players in the NFL, these guys are pretty similar. Like there's only so many Myles Garretts. There's only so many Baker Mayfields. There's only so many, like the top tier stars get paid, but there's there's a ton of guys that are just in that same middle of the road, solid player, can do stuff for your team, but isn't going to make or break you. And then you go, do I want to pay him $2 million or I want to pay a rookie $500,000?
Yeah, I would say even it hurts. So guys like Beckham are going to get paid. The stars of the league are going to get paid because it's the mid-tier guy. It's a guy like Schobert that gets penalized because the team can't afford to keep him, where he can probably get a better contract on a team that has more open cap, where it's never going to affect Beckham. Beckham's always really going to get the highest contracts available. You know what I'm saying? It
only takes one team. I mean, Joe Schobert could convince a team to pay him $15 million a year. I'm just saying, I hope it's not the Browns paying Joe Schobert $15 million a year.
Yeah.
Like that to me is excessive amount of money for a middle linebacker.
Yeah. But I don't know, like if you just raise the cap, I think, so let's say each team gets another $15 million, then Beckham gets $15 million of it. Brady gets $15 million of it. You know what I'm saying? Like I still think the top tier dudes are just going to collect more of the open cap than supporting the sort of the mid tier guys. And then of course you take positional value into it. I mean, you could go just uncapped, but then now you have the situation where, the Browns spend 50 and the, some other team spending 500. So that's no fun either. That seems to take away the fairness of it.
Right. Yeah. Bobby Wagner. So just looking, let's talk a little bit about Schobert. Okay. Bobby Wagner, he's the top paid middle linebacker going in this year, $14 million. CJ Mosley got $13 million for this year. And then Alex Ogletree, 11.8, which is just, he's stealing money. He's terrible. Quan Alexander somehow getting $11.5 million. Makes zero sense. Luke Kuechly, under $10 million. I mean, so if I'm looking at that and you can get, let's say you bring Schobert back for $10 million, he's still like a top 10 paid linebacker in the league.
Right. And if he plays well enough this year, someone's going to give him $10 million.
Yeah. And with the rest of your positional spending, now that you would take Christian Kirksey off the books at $8 million, and you have two rookies there. Actually, it's three guys on rookie deals with Jernard Avery. It's really your positional, because that's, you really got to keep that in mind when you're thinking about who you're paying. How much are you paying that position as a whole? You don't want to be spending all your money on one position group. You want to be able to spread it around, make sure everybody's, every group on your team is pretty solid. So if you're spending that, if you end up there with Schobert, you're still in the middle of the pack for linebacker spending. So I guess that's where I would be at with his contract, 10 mil. Yeah. What do we think about safety then? So let me look up the safeties real quick, because so the top free safety in the league right now is Eric Berry, who has even played in 2 years. 16.5. That's for 2019 free safety cap hit. That's what his cap hit this year is, 16.5. Right now, Demarius Randall is the fifth highest paid free safety in 2019, based upon getting his fifth year option. That's how low the free safety market is. So it goes Eric Berry, Devin McCourty, Malcolm Jenkins. I don't even think he's a free safety. I think he's a strong safety, but they got him here as free safety, 11.3. Harrison Smith, who's very good, 10.7. And then Demarius Randall, 9. LaMarcus Joyner, 9. Earl Thomas, only $7 million. Earl Thomas is only $7 million. What's going on with that contract?
Yeah.
How is he playing for the Ravens for $7 million?
Isn't Eric Berry's a free agent? He's a post June 1 release.
Oh, he was? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That must be why it's in red. That's probably what he was supposed to make. He must have counted something against the cap. So Earl Thomas only makes $7 million on a cap hit this year, but his cap hit is 15 million and 16 after that. So that goes up pretty substantially after this year. You look at 2020. So if you're talking about, Tyrann Mathieu will be the top paid safety next year at 16.3. And then Earl Thomas, 15, LaMarcus Joyner, 13, Malcolm Jenkins, 11, Harrison Smith, 10.7. Like, LaMarcus Joyner is getting overpaid, obviously, but where does Demarius Randall fit into this group? 5, 6, like maybe making, like if he gets $9 million this year, $10 million again, if he's getting $10 million a year for 3 years or something, is that something he's going to take? Or can you find somebody at $2 million that can give you what he does? And I would argue that's probably the case, to be honest.
Yeah, you're going to have to. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, those are going to be – there's some stuff the Browns got to do here going into next year after this. We'll see how they play. Who knows? Watch them go out and light it up, and then we're spending $20 million for them.
Yeah, I see Ziggy Ansah signed a 1-year deal, $9 million for the
Seattle. Yeah, that makes sense for them.
Hawks. There's still some names out there.
Yeah,
Eric Berry being one of them. Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah, not for us, I don't think. He's going to cost too much money. I don't know. That's the rumor, right? Is the kid, he's older, but the guy from Tampa Bay, Gerald McCoy, there's that whole rumor going on still, and which we talked about in our last show. Just doesn't make sense financially for the Browns, really. Yeah. You would have to, you can give up very little for that contract. Like, what are you giving up? Though, like right? A 5th round pick or something?
Yeah, that is a trade. Shane Ray, you mentioned, I think.
Some of the guys that are still out there, Derek Morgan, Shane Ray, a couple edge guys. I don't know. I don't see much. I just, what are the Browns going to add at this point? I don't think there's really much for them to add. Jermaine Kearse, a wide receiver, Buck Allen, running back, Ryan Schrader was a tackle. I feel like they've hit everything. I'm not real sure on what else you could possibly add this right now. Jay Ajayi, of that's going to give you anything. Like, there's none of these guys that are moving the needle. Dontrell Inman, Trey Boston, Ziggy Ansah, Mike Mitchell. Those are the highest graded remaining free agents from Pro Football Focus. Well, Ziggy, like you just said, Ziggy Ansah, $9 million to Seattle. Yeah, I don't see anything here that's getting me excited.
Yeah, it's just weird that all these dudes are on the sidelines waiting for deals still.
Well, it's because they wait for the initial free agents. Those go. The draft happens. And then what are those compensatory picks are safe, which they are now. It opens up this second round of free agency, right, where now you can go around and sign one of these guys and your compensatory pick still is good.
That makes
Which
sense.
Makes complete sense when you're like Miami Dolphins or a team that's going to be rebuilding. And I saw they had signed a tackle today. The right tackle position has finally been figured out there because they had that one guy from the Browns who was looking to be the starter who never saw one snap.
All right. Anything else to cover here?
I don't know. I mean, this is a pretty random show.
Yeah,
just kind of
just all over the place.
Some stuff I've been thinking about, I guess, with the salary cap issues that might come into place next year. I didn't see this week's Building the Browns, but the other ones have been pretty good.
Yeah.
Nothing too interesting that we can talk about. But if you don't watch Building the Browns, definitely go check that out. YouTube. How about Odell Beckham Jr.? Is he losing it? That's according to Tony Grossi. That was an article. Worried about his mental health. This is just going to be a constant thing, isn't it, with the Browns and Odell Beckham Jr. is that our beat reporters just do not know what it's like to have like a guy that has a ton of media presence anywhere he goes. He is out in front of cameras all the time. He goes like to these different events. He's going to be wearing a kilt with a cutoff shirt, a cutoff tux.
Yeah.
People think he's nuts. Like it's just never ending with this guy. And we're really, as Browns fans, we're just going to have to live with the fact that our media is probably going to overreact to everything, and we'll just sit back and I guess we just have to laugh at them. I don't know what else to do about it.
Much better just to sit back and laugh. It's not like Beckham's doing anything wrong. He's a star. I mean, he's going to get media attention.
He didn't show up to the voluntary camp though, Adam.
Yeah, I just don't know why.
What if you just don't show up to work one day?
It was funny because Landry also didn't show up, but they didn't really.
Yeah, who cares about him? We're talking about Odell.
Yeah, they didn't really say anything.
I mean, the question is, if anything is at anybody's work that's voluntary, why is anybody showing up?
Yeah, I mean, most of these vets don't. They have their own off-season work.
Oh, you know who didn't show up last year to their voluntary mini camp? Yeah, Tom Brady. He won a Super Bowl, so there's that.
Yeah,
just saying. The GOAT didn't show up. Quarterback.
How can the quarterback not go to the camp?
Bill Belichick let his star quarterback not show up to voluntary camp last year.
Wow, surprised they played him.
They should have sat him.
Yeah,
teach him a lesson.
All right, we're starting to ramble a little bit. Let's get out of here.
All right. This whole show is a ramble. What are you talking about?
We got a review. It is our weekly self-pleasure. This is from the Ref Man. We've survived. Hands down, the most entertaining Browns podcast out. Guys are free to laugh, joke, and speak blue collar about what we all as fans see and can say it matter of fact and with passion and fun. Love it. Only drawback is there isn't enough.
Oh, man, I agree. Definitely need more.
Love you guys. Great job. Go Dogs. Number 6. Thank you, the Ref Man. We're glad to have you as part of the Survivors. Appreciate all the reviews, everybody. Makes us feel good.
Yeah, how about a few more? Keep putting them in there, people.
We need the ego boost. What's our Twitter?
Our Twitter is at STS Podcast, and our email is
season@gmail.com. Patreon.com/STS Podcasts. If you want to support the show, shout out to all of our patrons over there. Thank you guys so much. Hope the off season is going well for you. More shows to come. I think we got guests lined up. No name drops, but should be having some people in here that you'll be familiar with.
Yeah, we actually had a guest today, and that's kind of what threw us off a little bit. So we just threw one together, but hopefully we get that back tomorrow or the day after.
Yeah. So watch out. There'll be some more shows coming.
Something out.
Perfect. Thank you, Greg. # Road to Redemption. Tell them what we say.
Keep on surviving.